All right, and welcome back to the Rebuild Health and Fitness podcast. And today we are privileged to have Marcus Smith all the way from Dubai. So I'll be honest, when Kate came to us, so Kate obviously produces this podcast. She looks for people to come on the podcast for. She's like, I know this guy, he's in Dubai, he ran 30 marathons in 30 days. And I was like, yeah, fuck, we're all in, right? And then I was like that, because, you know, that's a good feat. And I was like, right, let me get the research. And I was like, that's like just scratching the surface of what this sort of got. So I usually come with this explanation. I was trying to, you know, come up with a few words to describe you are, and it's quite difficult. So this is what I've come up with: a beautifully inspiring maniac. How's that?
Mate, I'll roll with it. I've never been called that before, but it's fucking cool. I'll go with it.
Each thing that happens is like, this is so cool, but I was like, he's fucking a bit twisted.
Yeah, I've been called some funny things, but yeah, man, just try and have some fun. It's good.
So how are you doing?
Mate, everything's good. It's morning over here in Dubai, and mate, I'm excited to have a chat. We're just talking before there. It's funny, isn't it? Like, you have so much in common with some people that, like, life is very similar. Like, James, you moved over to Australia to play rugby. I moved there in 2003 to play. We're all into fitness, CrossFit. It's it should be good fun.
That's it, man. So let's build a picture. Hard question, but explain what you do.
Yeah, that is quite a hard question. I guess, mate, my sort of official, and I'm hating it more day by day, but my official sort of caption is entrepreneur, motivational speaker, extreme athlete, and coach, which I don't know, mate, like, this entrepreneur shit, like, it's kind of a bit bullshit, isn't it? You know, and I'm like, you know, it's funny, mate, because I set up my company in 2008, and I sort of left the corporate world in 2010. I'd worked for Adidas, Nike, all sort of the big guys. And I was like, entrepreneur, you know, it was really a cool thing to do at the time. And, you know, I was like, oh, wow, you're fucking crazy. Just like, now it's just like, I got made redundant last week. I've done an online course. I'm a mumpreneur. Like, fuck off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just so, which is nothing wrong with that, ladies. Like, I'm all good. But yeah, mate. And essentially, like, to answer seriously, I did spend a lot of time in the corporate world, and I loved every minute of it. All the way through it, I was always sort of coaching people. My degree's in sport. I worked on the gym floor when I was younger. And I just felt always this almost desire, or if you want to call it a calling or whatever, just to try and help people a little bit, you know? And as time went on, I was like, I just look at a situation, and I'm not super intelligent. And I think that's why I always look for low-lying fruit. I'd be like, I think we could probably do that a little bit different or a little bit better. And that's really where I became, I think obsessed is a word with human performance of what we can do. And, you know, obviously, James, from your background as well, you know what it's like in a rugby changing rooms and in that team environment. And I was starting to, I played a few years on the World 7 Series, and we share changing rooms with teams like New Zealand, England, who were really sort of into the right environment. And I was like, yeah, I think we can, I can help people in certain ways by just taking little bits and pieces from here and there, and looking and just putting them into their life just to see what we can do. And that's really what I'm passionate about. And that's what we do. That's what my company Inner Fight does. Now I run essentially a CrossFit gym. We're a little bit more than that, I guess you could say, which is sometimes a positive and sometimes to our detriment. We've got a huge endurance section where we've got over 400 endurance clients as well. And with my wife, we run a paleo food business, Smith Street Paleo. She's from Australia, where you guys are. And we're just trying to get people healthy food. So everything we do, we're just trying to figure out how we can make people's lives, just improve the quality of their life. And really by that, I mean, the enjoyment. I genuinely want people to wake up every day and go like, fuck yeah, this is it. Like, I'm here and let's live. Because as well, as you guys probably have seen, you've been in the industry a while, like, people wake up and they feel like shit. And I'm like, we don't have to do that. Like, but it's harder to question, why am I feeling like shit? And then to fix it. So that's really my passion and my desire. And, you know, I'm fortunate. We've got an amazing team of coaches. I've got 15 coaches that work with me here, and one Kiwi guy that basically runs the whole place. So I can go out and play the whole day, basically.
Mate, I'm like, again, like you said earlier, like I'm resonating with what you're saying so strongly, because it feels very much like a similar path that we've been on. I know from like when we opened doors in late 2013 to now, like things are similar, but it's completely different and for the better. What were some of the sort of biggest changes you've made as sort of a business owner, or even just from within the gym itself over the years?
I think, well, when I set out, I thought I was just going to be a coach that was helping people, because that's what I was doing. And then like more people would come and want help. And I'd be like, okay, so we can grow and we need to grow. And I think at the start, I had this vision of helping people to get better at life, but I had no idea where it would go to. And I thought that we could create a big impact just by almost being remote and online. And, you know, I guess that was quite revolutionary in 2010, because everyone had an office, and, you know, not revolutionist or anything like that, but I was sort of chasing this thing. And, you know, and then once we got some bricks and mortar, that's when stuff really started to change. And that's when I realized as well, like the whole sense of belonging for humans is so important. This whole connection, being part of something, being part of a team. And that's one thing that every single day I'm like, how can we make it, if you like a little bit more sticky? Like, how can we let people come into this community and just feel that this is their home, you know? And I think it's something that definitely I took for granted for a long time, because playing rugby, I'd always have, you know, you've got 20 mates like the whole time. There's always someone. Sadly, back in the day, it was someone to go for a beer with. Like things have changed a little bit now, but there's nothing wrong with that either. Do you know what I mean? Because we go for a beer, we talk and we connect, and we have a good time. And, you know, so that was the main thing, Sean, is I'm always trying to figure out, okay, how can we, what can we implement that allows people to come together and allows them, it's not me or the coaches for the most part. You know, we organize events and stuff for clients, or clients will organize events on their own. And I think that's what's really important, and what's getting, should I say, like increasingly lost, because a lot of people are just withdrawing from human interaction and from what we're actually made for. And they're sort of, you know, people feel that, I mean, this is great. You're in Australia, I'm here, we're able to have this great chat, and it's able to go out over various platforms. People can listen and people can benefit. But how many hours of three dickheads like us talking can someone listen to? Do you know what I mean? It's like, you can't just a lot, hopefully, right? But you can't just podcast and YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. You've got to see people.
Yeah.
And you've got to feel emotion. You've got to feel energy. I'm quite big on sort of the energy that we give and the energy that we receive. And that's something that, honestly, mate, like, again, a lot of people would say, every year I try and make sure I change my bottom line and I'm saving costs on my, you know, it's fucking bullshit. Like, if you really just focus on creating something that humans want to be a part of and something that's quite special, the business continues to grow. Like and quite naively, I rarely look at the numbers. If we've got enough money in the bank, we've got enough money in the bank. Like, that's cool. You know, like I would rather see, you know, Sundays are a big day for us at the gym. We're from 8 a.m. till about lunchtime. We have like a number of different classes across all the disciplines that we do. And I just see people like, mum's come in and smashed out a class. Dad's gone out with the running group for a run. The kids are in the kids class, and then they all sit in the cafe having a coffee and a smoothie. I'm like, that's fucking success to me. You know, that's what we wanted to do. So that's kind of how I try. I'm not sure if that 100% answers the question, Sean, but that's kind of how I try and put it together.
Yeah, very much so. And I'm so glad that there's like you're preaching this kind of approach and message, because it's something that I used to say in sales all the time. Like, there's not many places where people can go now outside of work where they can connect with people, because it's not like the old days where everyone could duck off to the pub and drive home like half cut. Like, like, these are sort of environments where, you know, you get people from all different walks of life connecting, communicating, and then you have that sort of, you know, once you cultivate a good environment, it creates a good energy, and everyone loves being here. But yeah,
I suppose, like, obviously connection, energy is a big thing. I mean, you can feel your energy. I've researched you for a while, even through the screen a little bit. You can feel it. So obviously you talk about connection a lot with your gym, but there's another side to things, which is hard work, just knowing your personality slightly, you know, and it's combining those two efforts together, which sometimes in the past I've also got lost between empathy and compassion and understanding, and also let's do something, and, you know, let's go to work. How do you find the balance between those two? You as like an extreme athlete, and then you're dealing with some everyday.
I mean, I think the way, if I understand the question correctly, I think it's almost summed up in our brand slogan, which is show no weakness, in that we're ready to talk and we try and understand the soft skills, but we also understand that you got to get the work done. And you come in, if you look at our CrossFit program, for example, you come in, we start the class on time. It's pretty fucking militant. Like, I don't know how you guys do stuff, but when I started CrossFit in like 2004, you know, okay, guys, come up to the whiteboard. How is everyone today? John, how are you? I'd be like, fuck, I want to fucking work out. Like, I really want to work out. And like, I'll speak to John afterwards, and, you know, I'll speak to James over there, and I'll, you know, that's all good, but I'm here to work. And that's the sort of fine line that we sort of try and push with our brand slogan, show no weakness. Like, we're open to all these different emotions that are going on, but you're here to work, and human performance and pushing the bar is about figuring out what are their limits, where are we going with it, and when it's on, it's fully on, you know, and we want people, you know, I want everything, you know, and I think that's how we try and, like, we spend a lot of time developing our coaches, because there's a lot of people, there's a big difference between what I'd call like a traditional fitness instructor who just instructs, like, do this, and a coach who, you know, who can stand at the whiteboard and within 10 seconds can get you ready to work out, you know, just by their presence, by the energy that they're giving. So it's a really good question, James, because we have to be, and increasingly rightly so, we're more aware, we're talking more about emotion, mental health. Like, you know, 10 years ago, 3 fucking gym guys sitting on a video call talking about, like, nah, mate, like, that wouldn't happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, people would be like, what are these guys talking about? No, it's cool. Like, people are, so we have to be aware of that. And we have to be able to have this ability to sort of peel back a couple more layers of the onion than we used to. But, you know, we get better by working hard. We get better by, you know, a certain amount, we shouldn't be in pain a lot, but we should be in physical discomfort. We should learn what it's like to be without. We should know what it's like to be hungry, to be thirsty, to be physically exhausted. And this is one thing that I see on the rise today, that people are not, you know, it's like, oh, fuck, it's 1:30. I'm hungry. Oh, where's my phone? Uber Eats. Like, just get me something here in 15 minutes. It's like, fuck, that's just pathetic. Like, how do we expect this to develop or to continue to develop in the way that we've been developing if we don't have to plan and we just can figure everything out through this fucking thing in our hand, and it's bullshit, you know? So it's tough. It's tough times.
That's it. No, I like what you said there. I think you heard of eudaimonia before, like with Aristotle, about, you know, something I'll speak about is like, there's no happiness without extreme discomfort. And this is where most people fall off. We see it. I think the best example is like with lottery winners, where they just won the lottery. They haven't fucking earned anything, so they end up fucking mulling themselves. Do you know what I mean? Because they haven't earned it. But trying to teach people that they need to be uncomfortable. They have to get uncomfortable if they want to see any area of growth. It can become quite difficult, like you said, as the years are progressing and technology is getting a little bit better.
It is, but it also, one thing that's interesting, and I think about this a lot, like for a lot of people, we're talking about it before we started, like it's 6 o'clock here in Dubai or just after. And, I'm good. When Kate messaged me, like, we'll start at 5, it's all good. And like, maybe she was surprised, maybe she wasn't, because she knows that I'm an idiot. But, my point here is that if you say to a lot of people, like, you're going to wake up 4:30 every day, the thought of that is really quite uncomfortable. Now, what we have to do is we have to dig into why that's uncomfortable for them. Like what's really wrong. And then eventually, if we're able to flick that switch and to create a reason why, and to understand what behaviors are necessary to make that actually an enjoyable experience, then it becomes super easy. Like right now, I've been waking up at this time for 15, 20 years. So if you say to me, we've got a meeting tomorrow morning at 5:15, I'm like, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So you work hard to form the habit. And the reason why I give this example is because of this. You work hard to form the habit, and then the habit becomes a part of you. It becomes part of your subconscious. So there's never this war between subconscious and conscious mind. We're just doing stuff in the subconscious. And this is where we're heading in a really interesting direction, because what we're doing right now with the younger generation and all, fuck knows, the Gen X, Z, millennial, whatever, but we're programming them, we're programming the subconscious in the wrong way, in my opinion. And those habits are going to be so much harder to unprogram later, especially because tech is moving so fast. So the point is that the hard work becomes, like you say to me, let's go and do Fran. Like, okay, let's go and do Fran. Like, I know it's going to be super hard, but it's going to take 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's nothing, and of course I was full CrossFit wanker at the start, Fran, and lying on the floor. And, someone says, let's do Fran. Oh, mate, wow, easy. Like, it's an easy day today. It's incredibly hard, but the mindset is completely different. So that's where we have to be, I think, super cautious. And as coaches, we have a responsibility to help people in that way along that thought path. But I also believe that as clients, as athletes, as other humans, and we talk about this a lot, like how coachable is someone, and you have to be coachable. You have to go to a gym, and, some people turn up at my gym and I don't want to be here. Okay, this is going to be a fun one. But to me, that's almost like, all right, that's a good challenge, because I'll try and flip it around. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But, as that, there's a coach side and the athlete side or the client side. And we have to sort of understand hard work today, to sort of loop back really on your point, James. Like, hard work today is actually forming the habit. Once that habit is formed and the programming of the subconscious, that part is easy, and then you can move on and achieve other things. But if you can't do the base, and I go back to being a bit of a simple prick, if you can't do the basics, you're never going to be able to do the stuff that's really sexy.
And it sounds like, and it shows as well from all the research we've done into you, that you are someone who definitely practices what they preach. You fully embrace doing the hard shit for growth. Could you talk us through some of the crazy?
I think Sean, like, if you think about it, and it's not that hard, if you look at teachers at school, and this is an example that's been used over and over, which are the ones that you like? The ones that you like were the ones that were in the fucking ditch with you, sleeves rolled up, getting it done. Like, how good was it when your soccer coach or your cricket coach, played a little bit with you, or, your rugby coach sort of stood at fly half and showed a couple, like, you'd be like, fuck, this guy is God, and our industry, not just our industry, like fitness industry, gets bashed by people in it and by people out of it. Like the industry is full, like various industries are just full of people just trying to tell what to do and have no clue. And it actually sort of, a lot of this stemmed when I was kind of just starting out, or when I was coaching people more, because people had come and they'd ask for help, and I'd be like, I'll try and help you, but I've never been through what you're going through. And that's actually where my first sort of encounter with ultra running came in, because in about 2008, 2009, a lady came to me and she said, I think your skill set can help me. And she started telling me about this race, and it was across the Sahara Desert. It was 250 kilometers. It was like 6 days.
The first one, just
yeah.
Race.
Yeah.
Let's do that one.
And I was just like, I said, mate, I think some of the skills I have and some of the ways I look at stuff can possibly help you, but this is going to be an experience for both of us. I said, if you feel that, if you're happy to trust me, I'll do so much research because I'm excited for your goal, and I'll learn about it, and I'll try and coach you, because I can't coach you if I haven't experienced it. And I didn't have time to go out and run an ultra, but literally, like, I went home and I started Googling, like, what's ultra running? You know, what the fuck are these races to? And I was just like, fuck, this is amazing, you know? And the whole thing, and yeah, it's like reading something and you're just like, oh my God. And I was like, I got to do one of these. And I took her through it. And then she was so complimentary. She was like, it's been amazing. She's, you know, because we just spitball ideas back and forward. And I'd literally be like, you know, I've read this blog of this guy and this is a situation he got into. What do you think? And she'd come back and we just have this really open dialogue, and that's what I mean by being almost coachable. It's like, okay, we've got some of the answers. Like, we understand that ice cream is shit. There's no sort of discussion about that. If you're a fat fuck, eating ice cream is not going to be good for you. You know, and it's like, we can't really debate that, but we can sort of debate, you know, in a CrossFit workout, what's the best thing to do? Should we fucking murder ourselves in the first 30 seconds? Or are we someone who can just sustain this 85, 90% for a period of time? And, you know, we just went back and forward with this. And I was like, this is just so interesting for me, because there is no answer in human performance. And then I was like, but the best way for me really to test my shit is to go and do it.
Yep.
And, you know, a few different things happened. I stopped playing rugby at the end of 2009, signed up for a marathon, my first marathon at the end of 2009, which was in 4 weeks. So straight away, I was like, yep, 4 weeks, 4-hour marathon. I was like, fuck, I can do that. You know, I like started December, I'm playing rugby in front of 30,000 people, as if I can't run a marathon in 4 hours. Like, fuck, it's easy. Of course I failed. You know, I ran like 4:02, complete prick. You know, I was like, oh, fuck, end of my life. You know, and then it just sort of started to roll. I was like, I always had this thing when I was playing rugby, like, I think as humans, we should be able to do certain things. And this is probably old school physical education. You know, you should be able to run at a certain speed. You should be, you know, every rugby player should be able to bench 100 kilos for fun. Do you know what I mean? Just shit like that. Just like real simple sort of benchmarks. And one of my benchmarks was I should just always be able to run like 10K and around the 45-minute mark, you know, no matter, I mean, when I was playing rugby, I was a bit heavier. I was probably about 96, 98 kilos. So, you know, I'm 90 now. So I was a little bit heavier, but always could do that. And then, you know, always could go long as well. I'd be like 15, 20K. Well, that was long then. Long sort of changes when you get older. But, you know, and really, Sean, that's where it sort of started, you know, and it's addictive. Like, it's really addictive because of, and I've done a bit of a dive into this. It's addictive because of a number of different things. Through specifically my ultra running, I've been able to really, and this is really my motivation. I've been able to try and figure out what we maybe are capable of. And I've not really even scratched the surface. You know, I've also been able to inspire thought, and through that thought, sometimes action in others to go, you know, and this was the thing during my 30 marathons, how I pitched it. I was like, guys, if there's some dickhead running around this town, running a marathon every day, that's going to inspire one person to just literally just get off the couch and run, then we've done something good, you know, and through it, you just learn so much. Like we've been in some, I mean, fuck, I was doing just after lockdown in 2020, we did an event out here in the desert, and in summer here, it gets up to about 50 degrees in the day. And so we decided to do this event during the day, and it's a 50K ride. So we started at dawn. It's a 50K ride. And then we ran 50K, and then we cycled 50K again. And when we're on the second ride, it was like, it was about 54 degrees. And I'm like, fuck, I've never felt anything like this in my life. Yeah. Like you like, it's literally like you're just about to pass out, but you're not, you know, you just like, it's just fuzzy in front of you. And it's quite hard to explain. And I was like, fuck, this is wild. Like if I can get through this, I can do anything in the heat, like anything, you know? And it's almost like you're just earning these credits, because of course, anytime I've been running and it's been hot since then, I just know how to behave. Yeah. And, you know, you can read a book, and, you know, I love reading Wim Hof stuff about controlling the breath in cold and heat in any scenarios. But you get put in 54 degrees after you've cycled 50K, you've run 50K, and you're about 15K into your last cycle, but you still have 35K to go. So you still got over an hour left on the bike in 54 degrees. Fucking hot. Holy shit. Like shit fucking changes real quick. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of how it started and where it goes. You just learn so much. And I feel quite honored that people come to me and ask me for help, but I also feel quite confident that if someone comes to me and says, you know, I want to run across the Sahara. Okay. Yeah, I did that in 2015. I know exactly what it felt like. I don't know everything, because things change and humans are different, but I can probably give you at least 70% of the recipe. Yeah. You know, and then I'll take them through it, and I'll take all the emotional side, and I'll take all the technical side. And then and one of the biggest motivations is I know they're going to have the moments that I had. They're going to be so fucked and so tired and so hot and so over it. And I'm going to give them something that I know is going to get them through it, and it's going to change their fucking life. And I'm like, this is amazing, you know? So yeah, that's really why I think that's why I went into the I don't know.
I mean, it's great. It's super inspiring. Like just touching on a couple of points. Obviously, the coaching thing I think is really important. As you are right, you have to figure out things together. There's no like fucking playbook here of this exactly how it should be done. And then the next thing is just the credit mentality. I listened to Will Smith talking about like the bricks. He was like, every time he does something, he puts a brick. It's another brick. It's a brick, and then eventually you have this fucking wall. Do you know what I mean? And just concepts of just doing the bit. So obviously you've done some like breathtaking feats that we'll talk about before this podcast even starts. You've done some tremendous stuff, but you obviously getting ready for a big cycle ride back in the day, and then something, well, let's call it what it was. It's quite terribly. I was reading about it, and I had trauma. I was like, Jesus Christ. Let's start there. Talk us through that.
Yeah, you guys have done some good research. I really appreciate that. It's always a bit awkward when you talk to people and they know fuck all about what and they're trying to ask you. So I always respect people that have done their homework. Yeah, very true. I was out riding on it's coming up actually 10th of Feb of 2018, and I was in the wrong position. I'll take at least 50% of the responsibility. I was trying to undertake a truck, it was just going too slowly and I was not happy. So we're riding at like 60 Ks an hour. And this truck basically just pulled across the front of me and I hit it. And then I hit a brick wall. And when there's crazy stats about like humans hitting like objects and cars and stuff at high speeds. But I hit the wall at 54 Ks an hour, which is far from ideal, but honestly, and it's amazing time. I never thought, and I said this a lot last year, like people would say 2018, 2019, oh, did your accident change? I was like, no, you know what I mean? And it's like, fuck, I realized last year it's completely changed my life.
Yeah.
You know, it just changes everything. It was, and I was always, I've never been down about it because of one particular, I think I can put it down, and every time someone asks me, I appreciate them asking me because it's a chance for me to speak about it, and it's almost therapy. So we're now in a therapy session. We've been in a therapy session for the last half an hour, but
got tissues. Let's go.
The power of like keep on talking about it is amazing. But long story short, so I hit the wall and I'm in the middle of fucking nowhere. I'm in the mountains and I'm like, fuck, the left side of my body is destroyed. Like it was so fucking painful. And that I was like, I've broken everything. Then I realized I couldn't breathe. And I was like, fuck, I'm winded beyond winded. Like I'd felt winded before in rugby, but this is something fucked up. And then like blood starts coming out my mouth and I'm like, far out. Like I've seen this shit. It's not good. Like you see it in movies, don't you? Someone gets shot and like blood comes out and the next minute they're dead. And I'm like, fuck. And it's incredible how it all happens. And when I was there, I was like, I didn't hit my head. And you guys know what it's like. You play rugby or any contact sport, like you're laying on the floor and they're like, can you wriggle your hands and your toes? Because they want to check your spine. And I could wriggle. And I'm like, fuck, I've hit this fucking wall. I've just basically dropped my shoulder into it. But I still can't breathe. And it took about two hours or so. And it's a long story, but I want to get to the point that I was making before because I think it's super important. I wind up in intensive care and in quite a remote sort of village. It was a small town that actually had an intensive care. And I found out that I'd broken my shoulder. I'd fractured my scapula into like a load of different pieces. I'd cracked 7 of my ribs, which bones are not too bad. They generally, if you catch them in time, they'll knit back together, especially things like ribs. They're very painful, but there's a lot of muscle and cartilage around them. So they sort of all come back together. My problem and why I couldn't breathe is because when you damage organs, you have problems. And to want of a better explanation, I'd popped my left lung. It had kind of it's called lung hemothorax. And it just kind of bursts in a way. It's not quite like that, but that's the easiest way to explain it. And that's why I couldn't breathe. And I'm laid there in intensive care. And intensive care is a horrible place because there's 2 things that are going to happen. And you don't know what, like, I don't gamble, but I want to know what my chances are. Like, have I got 80% chance of walking out of here or not? Because you're either going to move out of there or you're going out in a box, you know, and they don't really know what's happening and that's why you're there. So it's like it's this horrible scenario. They don't want to tell you something because they don't know, but you want hope, but you can't get hope because you're in intensive care. You're on some sort of life support. You're under observation. It's like, it's a complete mind fuck, you know, and you have a good chance of not making it out. Like my lung could have not started it did. I'm here, guys. It's all good. But you know, it could have not started to open up again. And this blood could have not drained off and I would have died. I would have just stopped breathing in my sleep. The bones, as I said, are okay. And I was in and out of sort of sleep, not consciousness, but sleep. And I woke up at one stage and Holly, we've been together since 2003. So coming up to 20 years, she's absolutely incredible. She was at my bedside and I was like, had this, you know, when you're a little bit discomfort in your face and you kind of want to just punch someone, but you're fucked, so you can't, you know what I mean? And she's like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, why did it happen? Like, why me? And why, you know, and this victim mindset. And I could see this look in her face, and she calls me cold. So she's like the most emotionally in touch person ever. She's like, you never show any emotion. And she's like, in this moment, she had zero emotion, like nothing. Her face was just so straight. And I'm like, oh, fuck, what's she going to say? And she literally just turned around to me and she goes, mate, it happened. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And I didn't know what to do. And my face is just blank. And I went back to sleep. And I woke up, who knows, 10 minutes, an hour later, she was still there. And I smiled at her. And she looked a bit confused. And my smile, I didn't say it, but what I was thinking was, thank you so much. Yeah. And she's like, what are you going to do? What are you doing? Because I was looking down at my body and I went, I'm going to start training. Fuck. She's like, what? And honestly, guys, I look down and I'm laid across this bed and my left side of my body, I'm just fucked. Like I've got a drain coming out of my lung. They've put a pipe in my dick for a catheter. Like it's just fucking horrible, you know? And I was like, I wonder what I can do here. And I just looked down at my left hand and I've sort of got it. I got it laid on my lap because my shoulder's broken. And I was like, I wonder if I can just get that hand from like palm down to palm up. And it sounds so simple. And folks are driving their car, listening to this, just going,
I don't know, they will.
They're just like, oh. And it took everything. It was like my 1 rep max. It wasn't super painful. I think a lot of the pain was the emotion, because I was actually then realizing how broken I was. And I got it to palm up and my face is just smiling. Like I can feel it. I could feel it then. I can feel it now. And she's just looking at me and she's kind of smiling. And I'm like, this is it. And I've got it up. And because I'm a fucking twat, I want to push the envelope. I'm like, I'm going to turn it back down. And, you know, and then I've got it down and I'm like, and I'm sort of like thinking, fuck, if I can do 1, I wonder if I can do 10. You know, it's CrossFit, mate. Like we got to do sets and reps and working out and shit. And like, that's how my mind works. And I've done 10 palm rotations and I'm smoked. I'm absolutely destroyed. And I went back to sleep.
Yeah.
And I was like, this was the start. And this is why the story, and one guy said to me, like he called me, he's a client of mine, a good friend. And he called me about 2 weeks after I got out of hospital. I spent another 3 days in intensive care, another 5 or 6 days in the main ward. And he called me, he goes, how you doing? I said, yeah, man, I'm good. He goes, yeah, good. This is part of your story. Cold as fuck.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah. And I was getting these interactions with people that were just so cold. And I was like, fuck, this is it. This is what I need.
To how you treated them before. So they're like, right.
I think so, mate. Yeah.
What he needs.
James, I've never, ever thought of it like that. But, you know, maybe they knew what resonated with me. Maybe in that moment, Holly's like, if I go with this guy with this victim mindset that he's just put on, like, it's going to kill him. What did he used to do to me? You know? And yeah, mate, see, every time this story brings out something, like it's something different. It's so cool. That's why it's a real honor to be able to talk about it. And, you know, he's like, this is your story. And I was like, yeah, mate, it is. And there's so many small examples like that. Like, you know, the first time the physio came in, I hadn't walked for like 5 days. I'd been in a bed for 5 days. Like, you know, I'm pretty active and you keep me in a fucking bed for 5 days. But it took like 20 minutes to sit upright with the physio in bed.
Fuck.
And, you know, and then he took me to the toilet, like, just so I could wash my face. I haven't washed my face in 5 days and shit, you know? And then we went for a walk around the ward, which was literally like 20 meters and it took half an hour. And I sat back down and I remember the times that I cried during the whole thing. I wasn't crying, but I felt like I was crying. There was all of this like emotion coming out of me as I sat on the side of the bed after I'd walked around the ward. And he's like, "Are you all right?" I said, "Mate, this is the best day of my life." Like I couldn't get the words out. I was literally like that. And it's literally like I was crying without the tears because I was so fulfilled and it was so amazing that I could walk again. And this guy had helped me do it. Like he came in like nothing. And it's like you guys do every day when you're coaching people. You know, someone will go up to a barbell and you just know that they can lift it. And you're just like, yeah, just lift the barbell. But there's this fear inside of them. There's this I just didn't think I could do it. Everything was broken. Like my body was fucked. I had these 2 different drains coming in and out, like 2 pipes coming out. I could hardly breathe. And this guy's gone, "Yeah, we're just going to sit you up." I'm like, "Nah, mate, like, no, you know." But all of these things have they're absolutely incredible. And like I said at the start there, that's why I gave the date, because it's quite important, is on the 9th of February, and it's still on my Instagram now. I posted a picture with the words on the picture that says everything happens for a reason. And
that's the day before, right?
The day before. Yep. And I'm like, fuck, like, I'm not really into all that stuff, but I was like, there's something here. And I've just looked at every single part of it as, okay, this is a little learning, you know, it goes back to what we were saying. This is just a little bit of credit. And that's why people ask me, like, how do you build mental resilience? I'm like, fuck, like, where do you even start? Yeah. You know, where, like, how long have you got, you know? Yeah. And yes, there are. And that's why I link it back to what I was saying earlier is, you know, I'll say to a lot of people, just wake up at 4:30 every morning and have an ice cold shower. And they're like, huh? No, I want to run. I want to ride. I want to do CrossFit. No, mate, just do that for me. That's step 1. If you can't do that, you know, and you learn that the smallest things, like, imagine, you know, fuck, the week before my crash, I'd ridden around 30 hours on my bike, you know, and 6 months earlier, I'd been doing CrossFit Masters regionals, you know, like fucking snatching fucking big weights. No, not that big, but, you know, heavy enough weights, and, you know, back squats fucking up there. And this is my training. Like, come on.
I quite like it. I quite like the sort of moral of the story I've took from it so far, in terms of, like, you know, you are a let's fucking get the job done scenario. You know, you, like I said, you played in front of 30,000 people. You've done X, you've done Y, you've done Z. You've always been about the person that's like, let's win this day. That might have been running the marathon. It might have been running out in 30,000 people, but, you know, winning the day, that day in hospital, was turning your hand upside down. So regardless of people's situation or your situation, that's still the win for that day. Yeah,
absolutely, mate. And that's what I say, like, obviously done a lot of talks around it, and I developed this simple approach called the ultra mindset. And one of the last point of it is like, what can I do right now to make the situation I'm in a little bit better? And it goes back to what I said at the start. I'm not super smart, but I'm just looking, like, what's the one thing? Can we change the energy of this room by, you know, just moving that table? Do you know what I mean? It's there's these easy wins to make your life, like, everyone wants the big shit. Why? Because the big shit, when we think about the big shit, mentally, we're dopamine overload. We're feeling fucking incredible. But actually, a lot of the time, we never get to the big shit because we can't do the small things. So yeah, mate, it's that win the day mentality. And I know it does sound like a lot of what I talk about to a lot of people, I think, sounds too cliched because it's too simple.
Yeah.
You know, the whole, you know, I almost feel like I'm a 1980s American motivational fuckwit. Like, you got to wake up, you got to go, fuck yeah, you know. But if you can't, like, legit, if you don't look in the mirror when you wake up and go, like, you don't have to shout, don't wake up the kids or the wife or anything, but go, this is fucking it, I'm ready. Like, let's do it. Like, and again, it sounds really, I think, to a lot of people, it might sound a bit sort of cheesy and a bit sort of hippy dippy, but you fucking woke up this morning. Like, you woke up. That's like a lot. There are legit people that went to bed last night that did not wake up this morning, and you woke up. Like, you've got everything to go out and live for. And that's, to me, that's mental resilience. And that's where it really, really starts. And that's where people, they just want the big shit, and the little shit's actually the hard stuff.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's inspiring. Even, you know, someone that's around the game for a while, it is still inspiring to hear these things. I think, obviously, was your wife's name, is it Holly?
Holly, yeah.
You know, I just had like a picture in my head then of you like smiling at her when she woke up, and then she's like, oh fuck, I've created something else now. And then it's like, you know, he was a beast before, and now it's like, great, now he's going to turn into some new beast. Because if I'm right in saying you had the accident, and was it within the same year or maybe 12 months that you actually did the 30 marathons in 30 days?
Yeah, I did, mate. I did it. I did it in the November. So the accident was in February, and I ran the marathons in November. It was,
I don't know.
It's just wild. Like, and that's the thing, mate, when you have to sort of, instead of, a lot of the time we turn around and we go like, why me? Like, why me? Fuck, why, what did I do to deserve this? But I look at 2018 and I just go, fuck, that was epic. Like, I set out, like, you set out to try and set some cycling world record. You get cleaned up by a fucking truck. You have all that experience. You then, you know, literally, like, from the hospital bed, I'm like, fuck, no cycling, we'll run. And then the idea starts to incubate. You randomly pick up a guy's book, Dean Karnassus, who did 50 marathons in 50 states in 50 days in America. And you're like, that's a fucking good idea. Like, why would you ever read a book and go, that's a good idea? And then, you know, and then on, like, in December, it was my 40th birthday. I'm like, there's something greater than us. And again, it sounds, for some people, that's a bit hectic, but there's something greater than us, and we're important. Every single person, you know, that's listening, you're super important, but there's something else out there. And I'm not saying there's Allah, there's God, there's Buddha. I don't know. I'm still curious as fuck on the whole, you know, on the whole thing. But the universe and humanity, there's something, you know, and you hear it, like, everyone, like, how did you meet your wife and all of this stuff, you know, it's shit. You just can't write it, you know, and that's why you need to almost be not in a constant state of flow, because our nervous system will not allow it, but we need to sort of try and be in flow, or in a flow state where we're not holding on to things. We can be a lot more often, because if we're trying to distract ourselves, if we're holding tight onto stuff, if we're not opening our minds, if we're not listening to what other people have to say, and almost being in a meditative state when they say it, like, there's no need to judge. Like, I can listen to your opinion. It's cool. It's yours. I respect it. I might learn something. You know, I don't have to take it and go to my mate and go, fucking hell, I was speaking to this guy, fucking James, and, you know, he reckons 5x5 back squats shit house. Oh, mate, like, you know what I mean? And we create this anger, like, mate, when I was young, I was stressed out, arrogant, aggressive, on the whole fucking 9 yards. So that's why the accident and my age has changed me, you know? But I'm like, if we can get into this, there's something with energy in the universe that, like, you couldn't write 2018 and you couldn't write 2020. You can't write this shit. You have to just sort of roll with it. And again, it sounds crazy, but it's just beautiful. Like, it really is incredible how things go. If you just kind of, you just roll with the blows. It's cool.
So true. Like you see the people, like, you know, anecdotally speaking, the people who suffer from like that little bit of unhappiness are the ones who are least resistant to change. Like, you know, when shit starts not going their way, they're the ones who put up all the walls, right, and fight rather than just going with the flow. And that's where I think like outliers like yourself and people like Goggins, the message isn't going to resonate from everyone. And your message is not like, do everything I've done. No. But I think you show people what can be done. And I think it's always inspiring for people. Even I think Ross Edgley speaks about like using training to help reach your genetic potential. And I think that is such an amazing journey to go on.
Absolutely, mate. And Sean, you put out a really good point there, mate. Like what I've done compared to a lot of people is nothing, mate. You know, I mean, you mentioned Ross Edgley, like, fuck, you see the prick swam around Great Britain. Like, really? For real? Like, you're joking? Like 30 marathons in 30 days, any day. You know what I mean? I think he actually did about 15 marathons on a treadmill, that guy.
To see which breakfast he preferred, I think it was.
Something like that. You know, and a lot of people say, oh, it's not impressive. Yeah, it's not impressive what I do. That's for sure. But we're all on our own path. And there's someone listening to this podcast right now who is in a state of depression, who is in a state of sort of, you know, alcohol addiction. It's fine. The principles that I'm talking about is what matters. The principles that Ross Edgley uses, the principles that Goggins uses, these guys who are perhaps known, and they've put them clearly for us in books. You read one of these books, they're all the fucking same, because the principles are all the same. It's how to make a human perform better. So if you're suffering from overweight, if you're suffering from alcohol, if you're suffering from depression, it's cool. That's fine. We're all, and I say this, we're all climbing our own mountain. Everyone's Everest is different, you know, and it's fine if you have absolutely no desire to back squat 150 kilos or run a marathon. I'm down with that. What do you have a desire to do? Yeah. What's going to help you to push your envelope a bit further? But the way the world is right now, we constantly compare ourselves. You know, you read a book like Ross Edgley, you're like, fuck, I could never do that. Fine. And then you start to beat yourself up about it. I'm useless. I'm this. You know, we see all this plastic bullshit in social media and we're like, oh, I'll never, you know, no. And he's not like that either. In social media, it's all fucking fake, guys. Do you know what I mean? It's just, we have to come at peace with ourselves, and we have to do things that are helping us to feel, and I believe, look and perform better. And there's three real key areas. Like, I don't care. No one wants to look in the mirror and think, I look like shit. You know, it's the biggest moment of truth. So when people, like, it's aesthetic. I'm 43 years old. I want to fucking be shredded, like, genuinely. And I know not everyone wants to do the hard work to get there, but people want to look in the mirror and they want to be able to go, yeah, this is it. And then they will perform. So feel, look, and perform is super, super important. But this comparison that we're undergoing at the moment to others, like, get rid of it. It's all good. You know, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's great. Well, I thought this podcast would be a lot about 30 marathons, 30 days, but I think that's going to be such a small blimp in it.
Sorry.
Because we know, but there's still so much we want to get done. So obviously the 30 marathons in 30 days, obviously I think I can tell what your mindset was about it. I think when I was doing my research for it, there's a video of him coming in after his 30th, right? And he is plastered on the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building. When I saw it, I was like, okay, let me see how much it is. It's fucking, that must have been an incredible experience.
Mate, it's surreal. Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain how it went towards the end, because I set out with this sort of vision to try and help people to run, and obviously to test myself. And, you know, I finished a lot of the runs at schools, and like had kids run, had children in wheelchairs, you know, that I would help run the last sort of 200 meters with me. And every day was just it was literally quite moving, mate. Like the amount of support I got, and it was powerful. And then, yeah. And then they said to me, they said, oh, they're going to put your picture running on the Burj Khalifa. I'm like, nah, mate. Like, why? Do you know what I mean? Like, why? You know? And I was stood there and it was there. And I was like, fuck, that's me. You know, this is the tallest building in the world. It's like hundreds of thousands of dollars to advertise on there. And there's this dickhead in a crop top just running across it. And I was like, this is just, you know. And then, mate, the last marathon itself was just, it was incredible. It was, you know, I'd run like 29 runs, 29 marathons in like just over 4 hours. Some days were rough, you know. It was hard. It was the greatest thing was it wasn't rough for 42 kilometers, but it was rough in every part of the 42. There was rough parts and then there was good parts, you know. And it's like life, it's not linear, you know. You don't, and so some days took a little bit longer and some days were a bit shorter. And I was like, I have 1 day left to run. And I planned this on the 29th day. I was like, tomorrow might be the last day that I run if I wake up. And I sent a message to a couple of my mates, 2 of the guys that work with me, 2 coaches, running coaches. And I was like, tomorrow we need to run the fastest marathon. And they messaged me back. And this is, you know, we haven't talked a lot about, well, we've talked a little bit about environment and team. And, you know, these guys never message back and go, hey, mate, you know, you need to finish at this place and there's fireworks and this. They were just, like a lot of people sort of find reasons not to. They were just like, give me 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And literally they spoke to each other and they called one other guy. And 15 minutes later, they wrote back to me a plan. They're like, run at this pace for this, run at this pace for this. At this point, this person will meet you. And we basically had pace groups, right? Which some might say is cheating. I don't give a fuck. No. I needed help. Like I needed a guy to run in front of me at 5-minute pace for that 10K to make it work. And we got to about 8K to go. And I can feel it right now, this insane state that I was in. I was running at about, I think I was running at about 4:30 a K, and it was just easy. It was just so easy. And we got inside the last couple of K, and I sort of felt a bit bad, and it sounds like a bit of an arse thing to do, but like the last 5 or 6K, more and more people joined because they wanted to run the last bit with me. But at that point, we were going too fast for them and they couldn't hold on. And I was like, fuck.
That's not being that's fucking very cool.
I just feel bad because so many people supported me and obviously wanted to be a part of it. And my success was because of those people, and I respect them. And we were just dropping people off, and it was just weird. And I said to Tom was next to me. I was like, fuck, mate. I said, we're on for about 3:45 here. And he's like, oh, okay. And he starts running faster. And I'm like, mate, what are you doing? He said, you just said you want to run at 3:45 pace. I was like, no, mate. We got about 3K left. And I said, no, I said, we'll run a 3:45. Anyway, he goes, well, let's just stay at this sort of thing. And in the end, there was just me and him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, I didn't think about it then, but I think about it a lot after. I'm like, I was so fatigued physically and mentally, but I was in this, nothing else mattered. Nothing. I was able to create this absolute singular focus to run sort of, we didn't get down to 3:45 pace. I was too tired for that, but we were running just over 4 minutes a K, and we sort of crossed that finish line at just over 3 hours 45. And, you know, every time I've still got the videos of the end, I'm like, wow, like it was just, and it wasn't because I think I'm amazing because I finished it. Like I pretty much, without sounding arrogant, I knew I would finish it, even if I had to walk it, because I was going to do it, you know, unless it would put my long-term health at risk. And that's something that I think people should be aware of for these challenges. Like, I don't want to, because I feel a certain amount of responsibility to my family. And in 2018, obviously with my crash, I put their futures somehow. I was quite selfish, you know, and by making the mistake that I made, they nearly lost me, which would have really, it's, you know, when we pass, we leave behind a lot of people and they still continue to suffer whilst we sleep. And, you know, I don't ever want to do anything that puts that, you know, still now when I go out in the morning, sometimes Holly's like, where are you going? You know, and it's so weird because we've been together sort of 20 years. She never asked me anything. She's like, oh, you're going running, you wanker. Like, do you know what I mean? But some days she just asks me and I'm like, she's worried. And I would never want to, you know, I want to be around for her and I want to live my life with her and with my parents and stuff. So I was always going to make it to the end, but just that push and to run that last one. So just in such an amazing state of sort of what I said before, just complete flow of nothing else matters. You're just able to just go. It's just, that in itself, it's a drug. It really is amazing.
I'm glad you brought up the flow state because I remember when the Iron Cowboy did his 100 Ironmans, he's talked about a certain point where he was just like, full autopilot. And then he didn't realize, like, obviously doing that type of volume, like I'm sure you'd experienced, there's obviously a little bit of a recovery time afterwards, but he didn't fully comprehend how much damage he'd done to his body until he finished. Like, do you think that sort of type of flow state you're in is almost like your body's way of like self-preservation? Like it's protecting you because you have this singular focus?
I think it is, mate. Yeah. I think it's a really interesting topic. And the thing that's difficult with it and with pain, feeling and recovery is it's very difficult to benchmark and to compare. Like, and what I mean by that is your 7 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 effort and pain is totally different to mine. Like I can sit here and, you know, we do it all the time in CrossFit, right? We're like, fuck, I did Fran and I was just, you know, and you've just beaten me and you're like, whatever, you know, are you hiding that pain? Are you in the same amount of pain? You know, but to answer your question strictly, the human body, I believe, is able to do insane things, but then when we allow it to relax, it will then jump into a recovery state, which we have to fully embrace. And that's where most people don't get it. There's a reason why you've woken up this morning and, for want of a better phrase, you're just not feeling it. Now, if you can't pinpoint that reason, if you ate well yesterday, you had low stress, you know, everything was good, then what's your body telling you? And no app, no fucking Fitbit, no Whoop, no nothing can explain that to you. But it's difficult to, even as like, I've been in the industry a long time, studying fitness since I was a kid. It's like, how do I coach that to someone? And the way that I actually do it is I go, like, I ask people a lot. I ask a lot of my athletes, like, how do you feel? You know, like, did 180 heart rate feel easy? Did it feel hard? And what do you think contributed to that feeling? Because your body will do stuff. Recovery is crazy. And, you know, you know it, like you finish playing a rugby game, you're pumped, like you feel awesome. You wake up the next morning, you can't move.
Yeah, because you've had about 10 pints though.
20. Well, that as well. We don't help ourselves, do we, mate? You know, so you get your body and your mind, when there's a task at hand, allows you to get into this flow state, but it's almost like you've got to clear your bill next week. Do you know what I mean? And your bill is just chill the fuck out. Just take a little bit of time off and just take care of your body and your mind and do things that promote your recovery. And we're very, very bad at doing that. I mean, James, you mentioned it there. Literally, you play 80 minutes of rugby on a Saturday afternoon, you put your body through the ringer and you've won, you celebrate, you go out, you drink 10 pints, you sleep like shit, and you wonder why on Monday you're not actually, well, depending on how much you drink, you're not actually still hungover, but your body is just in this state of recovery that and I still think now at 43 that I'm bulletproof. You know what I mean? Fuck recovery. Like I'm trying my best, but you just want to do. There's not enough days in the week to train. It's like, and people say to me, you have rest days. Like, yeah, I do. Are they boring? Yeah, they're real boring, because I don't, but I actually, and one of the hacks that I have on rest days, like I have a rest day on a Monday, which is a really busy day for me. So I'm teaching in the morning. I teach 5:30, 6:30, and then we take care of all of our admins, coach the coach, programming meetings, everything. So literally on a Monday, I'm 5:30 till about 4:35 in the afternoon, just back to back. Yeah. So I don't have time to train anyway. So I sort of structure my day. But mate, if we're going to push the boundaries like we want to and as I say, everyone's climbing a different mountain. So it's not just what I'm doing. We need to make sure that we're respecting our recovery a lot more than I think we are, or society tells us to. I think it's super important.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, especially with you'll know when people start your gym for the first time, they want to go all in, and being all in is great, but there's a certain amount of volume that becomes quite detrimental at the start until your body is adapted to it, but what I'm hearing from that as well, like as recovery, it's, people don't want to concentrate on recovery, but if they concentrated on their recovery as much as they concentrate on their training in terms of did something else, some other stuff, then they won't feel like they've not done anything, if that makes sense.
I think so, mate. And I think one point to add to that is living let's call it an optimal lifestyle for whatever you want, is not just about your physical training, and I do this a lot with a lot of my ultra athletes when I know that they're going to feel like shit if they're not training a lot, because mentally we've trained them to train a lot. So I would send them a podcast like this, for example. Just go out and listen to these guys. You're getting some, hopefully, I'm not sure if we've given much good away, but you're getting some good knowledge. You're getting, and for the most part, we've been quite upbeat. So we're sharing some good energy. So hopefully by the end of an hour walk or just an hour sit with no distractions, just listening to a show like this, that's also part of training. And I think that's what's beautiful about the world of podcasting now, is there's so much great content out there. No matter what you're feeling, you can get some, it's almost a training session listening to something like this, because it's just putting positive things into your mind, and it'll make you feel, hopefully, we're talking ourselves up a bit, but hopefully it'll make you feel motivated when you go out and when you finish listening to it. So that's kind of the way that I think we should be looking at training as well. It's not just the time in the gym.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. There is one more thing selfishly I do want to talk about. I heard you talk about it on Modern Wisdom. You did this. Can you hear me?
No.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
You got us?
Hang on.
That's all right.
Yeah, I could just hear you. It's breaking up. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I got you back. I don't know what happened there. Sorry.
We'll be nearly there anyway. There's just one more thing I want to sort of talk to you. Yeah, selfishly, I heard you on Modern Wisdom podcast with Chris, and you spoke about. First, I want to talk about the race a little bit, and then I want to talk about something that happened in the race, and it's that 24-hour race around the 400-meter track. I heard the story, and I was like, I know he's told him. I was like, I've got to have this on my podcast, obviously. It's such a fucking good story. It's such a good story.
Which part of it, mate? Oh no.
Well, let's put this straight. You obviously did 24 hours running around a 400-meter track, which ended up 206.9 kilometers.
Very good. Right? Yeah, thank you.
Which is, and just an absolute breathtaking feat, just going fucking round in a circle.
Yeah.
And then obviously you need the bathroom and other stuff like that might happen. Like, did you?
Now I know what you want. I mean, listen, let's give this some context. So after 2018 was quite a big year, as you've heard over the last sort of 45 minutes or so. And 2019, I wanted to continue to create awareness around human performance through my running. So I did quite a few races and bits and pieces. And then I had this idea that I wanted to run 200 kilometers nonstop. I just thought that that'd be a decent mental challenge, because when I thought of it, I was like, that's going to be pretty tough. You know, I can run multi-stage races, 5 days back-to-back marathons. I'd run 30 marathons. Yes, it's hard, and to run fast, it's hard. So I'm not trying to make light of that. So I was like, where will I do it? And then it's kind of fucked up, but it's getting ever popular, this like 24 hours around a track. And I was like, they're renovating the track here. Like, what we could do is make something really nice from it. And again, like sort of help and inspire people, because people can rock up anytime. They can run 1 lap or run 10 laps, I was like, this will be a really cool concept. And then I was like, fuck, 400-meter track, 24 hours. And, and this is the way the brain works and dopamine works. You start to think about stuff, and then it's like, fuck, I've got to do it now, and you're like, wow, this is going to be wild. So, and you think about a number of different things, but you don't think about everything. And that's what makes ultra quite exciting. So, I'm like, pace is this, food is this is this, and there's a toilet close by, and it's all good. Now, basically a bunch of people came and were running with me, which is amazing. But some of them I didn't really know. So the first 5 or 6 hours, I did the first marathon just around 4 hours. And then the second one I'd finished in 8 hours. And I was like, fuck, we're on here. Like I wanted to do 5 back-to-back marathons, which is basically 210K. So that was like my new target. So I sort of started pushing a bit, and I was like, oh, my guts are, about 12 hours. I was like, oh, fuck, something's not 100% right. And what it's like, you need to fucking fart. And I was like, oh no, there's these people here and I don't know them. And I can't just fucking like running around a track and just like, you know what I mean? Anyway, like I tried to, and this gas was just building up inside me. And it got pretty fucked so I started at 2:00, and at about 10 or 11 in the morning, Tom, who I spoke about earlier, who'd helped me with my marathons, who heads up Inner Fight Endurance, he rocked up, and I just said to him, I said, mate, he's like, what's going on? I said, yeah, it's good. Stomach's a bit, it wasn't anything I hadn't experienced before. I said, mate, I need to shit. He's like, why don't we go to the toilet? I'm like, nah, not yet. I wanted to just get more and more laps in the bank. And we got to a point, and I was hurting. It was getting quite hot. And I said, mate, toilet. So we go into the toilet, and literally I don't know where the fuck I am. I just dacked myself, and I fucking, there's shit everywhere. And I look around, and I can see the butt hose. And there's this fucking, over here we have butt hoses. They're fucking great. You don't use paper. It's all good. You fucking proper clean your ass. So, sorry for anyone who's not down with this shit. And I've just grabbed this butt hose, and I think I've got a cap on like this, and I'm just going, shh, and I'm having a shower, and I've fucking got shit everywhere, but I don't care. And anyway, like 3 or 4 minutes later, Tom's like, mate, are you okay? And I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm supposed to be running this 24-hour run. And I'd literally, because it was hot, and, I'm not feeling 100%, and I've fucking shit everywhere. Luckily, I don't think I actually got any on my shoes. It's all on my legs and this shit. Anyway, sorry, guys. And I'm like, he goes, mate, I think we should get back out there, because he knew I wanted to try and push for 210. And I was like, oh yeah, cool. So I've cleaned up myself. He's like, what were you doing? I said, mate, I was having a shower. And he's just like burst out laughing. Anyway, I get back out there and it's still not gone. And I'm like, I said to him, I said, mate, I need space. I said, do you think it's wrong if we tell these people to go, like, just to give us some space? He goes, mate, it's your event. We've got to get you through. So this is what I hate about this story. I feel like an absolute arsehole because for the next few laps, I've got these people running like 20 meters behind me and I'm farting nonstop. And I'm like, oh, mate. He goes, mate, don't worry about anything. And I think at one stage I follow through again and I'm back in the oh, mate. It was just, and there's pictures of them running behind me and I'm just like, oh, this is just
the best, man.
It's just wild, mate. And I get so much support. Yeah. I really do. And I'm super thankful for it. And yes, I push for a lot of it on social media. I'm super active on social media. I love doing shows like this, but I don't take any of the support I get for granted. And, you know, like I said, the last marathon where we kind of mugged these people off because they're running too fast. And then the 24 hours a year later around the track where I'm having these gut problems and there's all this shit going on. I'm just like, this life is a wild fucking ride. But yeah, we didn't hit 210. We finished up with 206.9 or something like that, which was it's plenty, but I'm not sure. I might do that one again. It's pretty cool fun.
It's absolutely phenomenal. Everything you've done is phenomenal. I mean, I love the power you have where you think that them going back 20 meters is going to benefit them. No, I don't know. They are running with you. So
you just, yeah, mate. It's just, but it's weird, mate, because a lot of the time in these things, a lot of it's and it sounds like I want to be the next prime minister. I have no desire to do that, but I'm like, there's a kid back there that I can help, you know, and go back to what you guys asked me at the top of the show, like entrepreneur motivate. No, I'm just me and I'm just trying to help people just like you guys are. You're doing this podcast to help people. You run a gym to help people and you guys have the energy to do it. Not every single coach is a coach. A lot are instructors, but I just want, if from me suffering in a certain way or pushing my limits in a certain way, you know, we're in a really tough situation. 35% of the world are obese. Inactivity is just absolutely terrible at the moment. If us as fitness professionals in the industry and getting out there can just help people, then, you know, and if the price of that is I fart and you run into it, that's part of life.
The price you got. So obviously, I think a lot of people from here will want to show support. You've definitely got a fan from myself, and I'm sure Sean as well. So where can people find you?
The easiest thing is over on Instagram, MJD_Smith. And I will reply to you. I try and keep it ultra real over there. And yeah, it's that's the best place to send me a message and we can chat. I love talking to people about stuff. It's fun.
And you also run a podcast?
Yeah, Inner Fight podcast. I've been talking for a long time. We started that back in 2010. So the Inner Fight podcast. I should have you guys on and talk about what you're doing, actually. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
I'm gonna tee that up. Yeah. Because I've spoken so much for the last hour. I want to talk more of what you guys do because you're doing good stuff.
Mate, that's amazing, phenomenal. I'm so appreciative for you spending the time and coming on, especially at 6 o'clock in the morning. Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool. I've enjoyed it. As I say, it is kind of the same story, but the way that people ask me the questions is awesome. So thank you guys for asking me good questions and for allowing me to talk. It's honestly, it sounds selfish, but it's an hour of therapy. I fucking love it.
Mate, like, for you to say earlier, like it's an honor for you to tell your story. Like it's an absolute honor and pleasure for us to hear it. Cause you know, if I'm taking so much away from it, then there's going to be so many of our listeners and our members who are going to get even more from it than we will. And
that's very kind. Oh, thank you, Sean. That's very kind, mate. Appreciate it.
I don't know
we've done something good for the world.
Aspire, just go for a run.
Not quite.
No, you know what would be really good? Like I have to go for a run right now. So it'd be cool if you guys also went and did the same run.
What? No,
It's not.
Whoa. How far are you running?
No, it's not long. You need to do like 10, 15 minutes warm up, then 3 minutes on, 3 minutes hard, 1 minute easy for 10 rounds, and it's done.
15-minute warm up. The part of is it running?
Yeah.
No, that is my run. That's it.
Come on, mate.
I'll be finished and you'll be starting your intervals. Thank you so much for this. We really appreciate it.
Awesome, guys. You're legends. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, mate.